This is called The Panther, a Bedtime Story by Pinckney, Benedict. What kind of story is a bedtime story? Try to think right now before I start reading any further some of your thoughts about what makes a bedtime story a bedtime story. Then, as I read, think about if this tale fits into your idea of a bedtime story. The boy led his spavined, excuse me. The boy led his spavined horse, which means lame. So messed up, lame, like not working right. Had a damaged leg. Through the dwarf brush that grew at the top of the mountain. The gelding's damaged leg was hot with pain, and he held its head close to him by its rope halter. He put his face against its warm brown neck and made soft, comforting noises. There were no roads. The boy followed vague trails that wandered among the trees and petered out and picked up again farther on. He wore a big brimmed hat that he constantly pushed back from his forehead so he could see. He had a belt full of heavy brass cartridges slung over his shoulder. The cartridges fit the rifle that rode in a leather scabbard on the gelding's offside wither, and they also fit the Colt revolver cinched against the boy's ribs under his jacket. So the wither is the highest part of the back of the horse, and I pulled up a thing just to show you this 8th grade class that does this story. The teacher put a little thing up about the parts of the horse. The throat lash was something that was mentioned. We're looking for the wither. There you go, the withers right there. Let's see if I can spotlight it. Yeah, the withers are right there. And you can see the throat lash that he talks about is right there. All right. All right. We did it. Okay, so we found out what the withers were. And we know that the kid has a Colt revolver cinched against his ribs under his jacket. He had lost the panther he was trailing in the morning of the day. The panther was an aged mountain cat, a hunter-gone sheep stealer. The boy spent the afternoon looking for his way down off the mountain and didn't find it. Now it was evening, and he was searching for a clear space to lay out his bedroll. Some green forage for the gelding among the sticker bushes and stunted trees. He took a drink from his canteen, wet the palm of his hand, held it against the muzzle of the gelding. The horse nickered, went woo, and stepped away from him, dancing on three. Wow, I'm having so many technical issues. Dancing on 3 good legs. The boy gripped the halter tight, reached over the gelding's neck, and unslung the rifle. He scanned the trees for the panther's form. The gelding, the horse, shunted itself around in a wide half circle, kicked at the brush, nipped the boy with its long yellow teeth. "Hold up there," the boy said, trying to calm the horse. "Hold up," he said again. An old woman stepped from the woods onto the narrow path and pushed past the struggling boy and horse. The gelding struck out at her. "I'm sorry," the boy said. He was trying to keep the gelding back from the old woman, and it was a hard job. The gelding was trying to climb right over him. The old woman backed off a couple of steps, watching the two of them for a second. She was dressed all in greasy leathers, and she carried a battered iron stew pot in her hand. "He's gone crazy," the boy said. "He never did anything like this before with me." The gelding had tangled its tack in a thick gorse bush, and it says a thick gorse is a prickly evergreen shrub, like a holly bush. And the boy dropped the rifle to try and pull it free. The old woman looked at the rifle, then headed down the path again. "Stand by a minute," the boy called after her. "Is it a way down the mountain that you know of?" The old woman vanished among the trees. The gelding stood shivering and blowing, still caught fast. It had torn its hide on the thorns as it fought, and the boy's hands were cut and bleeding. He worked to free it, the reins, the stirrups, the mane, tail, and every time the gelding shifted, the boy gashed himself again. "You," he said, and slapped his fist against the gelding's dusty barrel side. "You!" The gelding held its lame foot tenderly off the ground and flared its nostrils. So poor horse is freaking out, but we understand he's hurt, he's scared. The boy managed after a time to work the horse loose from the briars. He retrieved the rifle and set down the path after the old woman. The gelding stumbled after him, stopping now and again to crop the patches of thin yellow grass that grew along the edge of the path. When it was full dark under the trees, the boy spied a light off to his left. As he approached, he saw the old woman sitting at her campfire in a little clearing. Her hair was wild and glowed orange in the light. The stew pot sat in the hot ashes at the edge of the fire, and the boy smelled lamb and onions and potatoes and pepper. He licked his lips, made me hungry. The gelding started to shy. The boy tied the reins to a branch, but he was still a dozen yards out of the clearing. Stand fast, he said to the gelding, and it pushed its broad head against his middle. Hey, Granny, he said to the old woman as he walked into the camp. I'm sorry about the horse trying to bite back there, he said. He held out his arm where a purple bruise was forming. He got me worse than he did you, though, the boy said. The old woman said to him, You got no rifle with you, son. A man don't carry long arms into a stranger's camp, the boy said. You got good manners, the old woman said. Get you some eat. The boy took the stew pot from the fire and set to eating with a spoon and metal dish that he carried with him. The stew was hot and filling, and the lamb was cooked tender. The old woman rolled a cigarette and smoked and watched him while he ate. Thank you, the boy said when he was finished. You live alone all the way up here, do you? He said. I'll show you a thing, the old woman said. It's a thing nobody else has ever seen, and a thing you'll not see again. I show it to you because you got good manners, and because you brought no rifle into my camp, she said. Okay, the boy said. Then you follow the path down the mountain, the old woman said, as she pointed the way out to him. You take it straight down the mountain, straight into the valley, and no more hunting this panther. No more hunting the panther, she said, because it ain't what you think it is, and it's the last one of them left. Okay, the boy said. And don't you touch that belly gun you got, the old woman said, and she smiled. You ain't too polite. That's my daddy's lamb there in the pot, ain't it? The boy said. The old woman threw back her head and her eyes rolled in their sockets. She fell to the ground and writhed in the dirt of the clearing floor, and her body shucked its uncured leathers. The boy touched the revolver at his waist, but the feel of it was foreign to the scene before him, and he did not draw the gun. Something rose on the side of the fire, on the far side of the fire. It wasn't the old woman there anymore, but the giant panther, catamount. The catamounts, that's the name of the WNC. Catamount's a name for another word for panther. Its great head was blunt, its dark eyes as key slots. Its long, narrow body was covered with terrible scars. Some the boy knew he had inflicted, and his father and his family, and those that peopled the valley. Others were the claw work of beasts. Still others he imagined were the marks of darts and spears of ancient savages. The panther circled the boy, and he thought how he would tell his children, or perhaps his grandchildren, about the gray-yellow color of that hide, and the puckers and tucks in the flesh, and of the animal reek that suddenly hung in the air of the clearing. Suddenly, the panther leapt the fire, and the boy blinked in fear as it stood over him. He could feel its breath on him and hear the beat of its weary heart. Then it leapt again, and though he strove to watch, he did not know if the cat rushed along the ground or hurtled into the boughs of a tree, or even if it sped upward and outward and vanished into the clear night sky. So, first response question, one of the first questions I'm going to ask, first response wise, did you suspect that there was something strange about the old woman? If so, at what point in the story did you realize it? And if not, why would you realize it now? Like, do you think you could find the point in the story where you should have realized it? And then there'll be other talking over questions, which I will post shortly as well in the Google form like I've been doing. So I hope you enjoyed The Panther, a bedtime story. Yay!